Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to explain how Bach organized his 6 Schübler chorales for organ in terms of tempo and duration. It's a fascinating glimpse into the workings of a musical genius and how Bach's mind operated when he was assembling this group of pieces. This all comes from Discovering Bach's Secret Tempo Code, which is my book in progress, and blog in progress, which you can read about on the website. Links below this video. So let's turn to the 6 Schübler chorales here. This is the chart for the 6 chorales. In 1747, Bach decided to assemble a group of 6 chorale preludes for organ. They were published by a man whose name was Schübler, hence the name Schübler Chorales. This was one of the very few compositions that were actually printed and published during Bach's lifetime. They were very important because they were actually listed in the list of works after Bach died. There was a whole list of works given that were printed or published during his life, and it wasn't a big list, but these pieces were on that list. So Bach regarded these really highly, and I'm going to explain how he assembled these, because he didn't really compose them from scratch, but he really assembled them from previously composed cantatas. So cantata number 140, movement 4, cantata number 93, movement 4, cantata number 10, movement 5, cantata number 6, movement 3, and cantata 137, movement 2. These were all the sources that Bach used for his Schübler chorales. So he took a chorale, a solo chorale with chamber orchestra for each of these 5 cantatas. And then he arranged them in a certain order, and then he had to compose 2 new, because 2 was not borrowed from a previous cantata. Everything is transcribed literally and exactly, except number 5. There's a big cut here. So the original in the cantata has 100 measures. This only has 59 measures. So he cut it almost in half to fit in the Schübler chorale set here. But other than that big cut in number 5, all the other ones have the same number of measures, and they all have the same tempos. So let's look at how Bach did this. I've talked about a lot in the past about how Bach loved symmetry and he loved firsts and lasts. So his first step 1, was to secure the bookends. So to secure the bookends means that Bach was going to find, out of those pieces that he chose, he was going to choose the 2 longest ones as the 2 bookends, the first and the last. The tenor chorale here, the very famous Bach and Auf chorale in cantata number 140, at its natural tempo, it lasts just a little over 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 6 seconds. In cantata number 137, the verse 2 aria here for alto lasts at its natural tempo. It lasts 4 minutes and 7 seconds. So this tells us that after like a 20-year period or over 20-year period from the time of the writing of these cantatas to 1747. By the way, these cantatas come from like the 1720s and maybe 1730 at the latest. So these were written many years before he assembled the Schübler chorales. But it is astonishing, actually, that he started with, to put the bookends, to put 2 pieces at the first and the last positions, and they have the exact same durations, just a little over 4 minutes. So that was the first thing he did, was he secured the bookends, there and there. So you have the alpha and the omega, the first and the last. That's step 1. Step 2 was to establish a relationship between chorales 2 and 3. That's when they're in the chart. You can see right here, they have a 1 to 2 duration ratio here. So what Bach did here in step 2 was he took his previously composed chorale here from cantata number 93 at its natural tempo of 63. It lasts 3 minutes and 10 seconds, so a little over 3 minutes. So what he did next was he composed a new work, a new chorale called Wo soll ich fliehen hin? And that he actually gave faster speed here and played at its natural tempo. It's half the duration of 310. So you have a 1 to 2 duration ratio. And we're talking really, really small margins of error here. Step number 3. The third and final step was to establish a relationship between chorales 4 and 5. So you can see in the chart here that number 4, meine Seele erhebt den Herrn, and Ach bleib bei uns. You see that these both they're both virtually equal in duration, 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So they have a 1-to-1 duration ratio here. And it is astonishing that Bach was able to remember after all this time what the durations were. And if he didn't know that, he could easily calculate the durations. So what he did in step 3 was he took his alto and tenor duet here, and from cantata number 10, it has 35 measures. It's very slow. At 8th note, it's 84. At that tempo, it lasts 2.5 minutes. Then what he did was he went to cantata number 6, and he selected the soprano chorale in the third movement. And in the cantata, it has 100 measures, 96. So at this tempo, it lasts 4 minutes and 10 seconds. There's no relationship between 2.5 minutes and 4 minutes and 10 seconds. And Bach saw that because what he did next confirms that he knew exactly what he wanted to do. See this duration of 2.5 minutes for this aria here, or this duet? So what he did was he subtracted just the right amount of measures from 100 in order to make it 2.5 minutes. So it's astonishing what he did. So he took the previously composed movement with 35 measures, tempo of 84, and it lasts 2.5 minutes. Then his new version, his new shortened version of this chorale from cantata number 6 has 59 measures. Remember up here it had 100 measures? So he cut almost like half of the chorale out. And he did that because maintaining the same tempo, allegro tempo of 96, you have, it lasts 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So you see that he was probably aiming for 60 measures here, which would bring him to 2.5 minutes. So this explains why Bach shortened that from 100 measures to 59 measures, because he was trying to hit 60 measures in order to bring it in line with this one right here. So once that was done, once step 3 was done, he had the Schübler Chorales completed. He has the bookends secured here, 4 minutes and 7 seconds, or 4 minutes and 6 seconds on the ends. Number 2 and 3, they relate 1 to 2. Number 2 lasts 1 minute and 35 seconds. Number 3 lasts 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It's an exact 1 to 2 ratio. And chorales number 4 and 5 both last 2.5 minutes. So they have a 1-to-1 duration ratio. And all of this, astonishingly, is only a 0.5% margin of error. So this is testament to Bach's unfailing memory and his use of numbers and his use of proportions in the creation of his musical works. By the way, the eighth note of Wacht auf is equal to the eighth note of Kommst du nun. And so actually number 1 and number 6 actually have equal tempos. They're just grouped differently. So you can see that this number 72 and 48 are actually in the same row in the tempo matrix where I got these tempos from. By the way, these are all the natural tempos for the work. So these are the tempos that Bach intended for his 6 Schübler chorales. These are the durations, and this is how it all fits together. Thank you for joining me today, and stay tuned for more videos like this in this series.